Hi, my name is Reed Silverne. The name of this show is Fed Pride, and the reason it's called Fed Pride is because I'm a federal worker, retired, and proud of it. Today for me, it's July 21st, 2012. For you, it'll probably be July 25th, or the following week, or the following week after that, or the following week after that. I haven't been on the show, at least making the show, for the last 6 weeks. I vacationed in California, visited my sainted and loving mother, and went to Comic-Con, one of my absolute favorite things in San Diego. And now I'm back, and I'll be doing a show once a month, maybe even more often, and keep on doing what I'm doing. As I often say, anything I talk about will be obsolete by the time you see it, and that's just the nature of the game. Even on the week that I tape on a Friday or Saturday, and it's not shown until the following Thursday. So a lot can happen. People get elected, world crises occur, and you're talking to somebody in the past who's talking about things that are even deeper in the past. So what I often do is talk about things that are so irrelevant and so meaningless that they are equally irrelevant and meaningless a week in the future, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks. Meanwhile, since last I've done a show, just unbelievable things have happened. As everybody knows who watches my show, I am not a fan of Mitt Romney. Even though technically, according to my registration, I am a Republican. I've never liked Mitt Romney. I didn't like him in 2008. I have actual shows that I've taken clips from where in 2008 I talk about all of the scandals that were already known at the time and all of his baggage. And basically, just the look on his face while he's debating other people. Every now and then the camera flashes on his face. Even in 2008, I could just see the hatred in his eyes. He just despised his opponents. And you could tell that he didn't feel that people had the right to even be an opponent. How he could think to become a politician, I don't know. On top of that, he's awkward. And he appears to be personally mean. So when it came out, I mean, he ran again. He fought some very tough opponents in the primary and some not so tough opponents, and smeared Newt Gingrich, which of course is not that hard since he's a serial adulterer and all the other weaknesses that he has. Smeared Rick Santorum, who's a real conservative and darling of the social conservatives, and beat them all. With just gigantic amounts of super PAC money that appeared out of nowhere. He has 17 or 20 billionaires feeding him money. Adelson, a billionaire who was actually behind Newt Gingrich and funded his campaign, has basically said, here's $10 million and my pocketbook is open and it's infinite. Same thing with the Koch brothers. Same thing with these. A lot of these hedge fund billionaires basically are at his beck and call, ready to give him as much money as possible. Meanwhile, Obama has not a terrible economy. I mean, it's been worse. Unemployment was 10.2 and collapsing in 2009. It's now 8.2% and growing very, very slowly. With all kinds of hangovers from the Great Recession. Housing is growing, but very, very slowly. Housing prices are low. The Fed is forced to have virtually 0% interest to keep the economy limping along. Meanwhile, there's a crisis a week going on in Europe. One day, Greece is collapsing and the euro's going down with it. Then they're rescued. Now the Spanish banks were collapsing and bringing down the euro, and they were rescued. Now they, what to us would be a state, to them it's a regional government of Valencia is collapsing and bringing the economy with it. India, which was growing at 10% a year, people predicted that India would consume so much oil that the price of oil would be $200 a barrel someday. Their reported growth rate has gone from 8% a year to 2.8, not that much better than us, and considering it's coming from a much lower area. China was growing at 13% a year. Of course, I never believed that. Now it's down to a reported growth of 7.8, which is pretty fantastic when you think about it. That's over $600 billion a year of growth. Of course, it's a communist country. You can't trust their figures. Their real growth rate's probably not much better than India and not much better than ours. So commodities prices, they haven't collapsed, but they stopped going up. And the price of oil went down a little bit. Same thing with Brazil. Same thing with all these BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, the new economy. And the new economies of the world do not seem to be growing much faster than ours. So there's a worldwide slowdown going on. And who's president? Obama. So it seems like any Republican could just walk right in there and snatch the presidency from him because he's a Democrat and of a group that is not one of us, as the Republicans like to say. He's not one of us. It seems like they just have everything going with them. So what is the problem? Meanwhile, Obama's sitting at 47%. Mitt Romney, the moderate Republican, plus all the people that are upset and dissatisfied with the economy, can't seem to get past 45%. Meanwhile, the electoral map, which was always on Bush's side when Bush ran, it was a very, very hard for a Democrat to catch up and surpass, seems to be on Obama's side. Romney has to capture almost every single battleground state just in order to get close. So, I mean, some call it 221 Obama, 170 Romney, the real conservative counters. Another one says that Obama's within 4 electoral votes right now of taking it all. So he has to get one toss-up state. And Romney's at 191, with leans and so on and so forth, including Florida. So what's the real situation? The real problem is Romney. Romney, in my opinion, has got to be the worst candidate that the Republicans could possibly have. And the reason is because he has so much baggage. His company is on the edge of legality, let's face it. Every time they talk about Romney's taxes, every time they talk about Bain Capital, they always say, well, he didn't do anything illegal. And I think they're afraid of having him sue them. But the fact of the matter is he's already admitted doing one thing illegal, and that was when he found out at Damon, which was a medical, they tested blood for various diseases. And what they did was they bundled up tests, which they didn't tell the doctor they were going to do, and charged Medicare for tests that they didn't tell the doctor they were going to do, and they claimed that the doctor wanted done to Medicare. So they basically, this Damon Corporation basically inflated Medicare bills, cheated Medicare, cheated the taxpayer, They started in 1989. They were bought by Bain, which was completely owned and controlled by Romney in those days. Romney actually is reported and on tape saying, yes, I knew about it and I corrected it. Of course, he didn't correct it. And I went to my lawyers and asked my lawyers whether it was okay, and they said it was. So instead of reporting it to the government, which you're supposed to do even in suspected situations, he took the company and sold it to Corning, who immediately found the same problem, reported that problem to the government, and was fined $192 million. The filings of that finding were so overt, they said that Romney did not correct the problem or even try to correct the problem, and they complimented Corning, the victims who were defrauded by Romney and Bain, for finding the problem and owning up to it. But it was Corning that had to pay the $192 million, where Bain made $7 million and Romney personally profited $500,000. So instead of $500,000, he would have lost out of his pocket $6 or $7 million. So it just kind of shows you his character. If it's not outrightly illegal, it's legal. If you don't see me do it, I didn't do it. He basically has the integrity of Homer Simpson and Bart Simpson. First episode or second episode of The Simpsons, Homer Simpson says, I have 3 things to tell you, Bart. If somebody accuses you of something, the first thing you say is, I didn't do it. The second thing you say is, nobody saw me do it. And the third thing you say is, I don't even remember the third thing. But the third thing is another fudge. Basically, somebody else did it. So Romney is basically the same thing. So they've been saying to Romney, come up, come clean, let's see your taxes. And Romney released during the primary 1 year of taxes, 2010. He hadn't filed 2011. We have to file it. He took an extension. That's April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So October is when his extension should be up, and he should have to file his 2011 cleaned up taxes right before the election. Is he going to do it? I doubt it. And now it comes out that this one complete tax form that he submitted, he withheld a key document, the FBAR. And the FBAR is the foreign bank, boy, I'm in trouble today. But it's called an FBAR, and basically it is all your foreign investments and your foreign bank account. Foreign bank account regulation, I believe it is. So he withheld that. Now, in the course of the very, very tiny footnotes on the 200-page document, it comes out that Romney had a UBS, which is the, I believe, the Union Bank of Switzerland account, Swiss bank account with $3 million at least at one point. That bank account had been switched to his wife before he became governor. He didn't include that foreign bank account in any of his disclosures as he was required to, and it was required under state law that he disclose this. He did not do it. But the statute of limitations is over. So, hey, nobody saw me do it. I didn't do it. So he got away with that. And he updated his disclosure in 2011, I believe, or 2012, after it came out when he had submitted his 2010 filing. So now we find out that he has a foreign bank account. And he closed it just about the same time that there was an amnesty. Now, why was there an amnesty? Well, the federal government has been going to the Swiss and saying, you are aiding tax cheats, American tax cheats, who are cheating our government of our just taxes because of the secrecy of your tax code. And they especially went after HSBC and UBS. And sure enough, they finally forced Switzerland, for one reason or another, to release the names of hundreds and hundreds of tax cheats. And what we don't know is, was Romney one of them? But it just happens. They went to all the tax cheats and they said, you will be prosecuted unless you take advantage of an amnesty, return the money to the United States and pay the tax. So, well, you know, it's funny because the $3 million UBS account of the Romneys just happened to have been popped and transferred back at exactly the same time as the amnesty. Did he take advantage of the amnesty? Now, Romney has always said, I have never done anything illegal. However, the terms of the amnesty is that you did something illegal, but we're giving you an amnesty, and it's anonymous. So all these tax guys and wealthy people took advantage of it. Stuff is coming out every single day. Now, there was a big controversy a couple of weeks ago that's since eased up as to when did Romney get out of Bain. And Romney says, I got out of Bain in February 1999. After February 1999, I had nothing to do with it. I don't know what those crazy people were doing. I don't know what they were investing in. But whatever they were investing in, even though I made a lot of money from it, wasn't me. Hey, nobody saw me do it. I wasn't there. Nothing was illegal. It didn't matter anyway. So everybody is scratching their head. Why is that an issue? It's an issue because from February of 1999, when Romney went to take over and save the Olympics by borrowing, by getting a $1.5 billion in federal grants, he was saving the Olympics. He obviously couldn't be running Bain. Well, the SEC filings, which is the official document that says who are our officers and what is our company doing, and here's our accounting for it, listed him as CEO, president, and sole stockholder, the only person responsible. Even 2001, December 2001, he's still signing a document at a state government level saying that I am the responsible party, me and one other guy, for any real estate transaction in the state of Maryland. So he was signing documents. There's the 6 months after he supposedly, well, a full year after he supposedly got out of Bain, he's signing the contract for a new takeover of a company. His name, his actual name, his signature is on it. So he's president of this company, but he's not responsible for it. And nobody knows why he fought so hard to say he wasn't responsible. The Obama administration has this great ad which basically says Romney outsourced jobs to China and Mexico. Romney, as governor, outsourced jobs to India. Romney is not the solution. Romney is the problem. Very, very well done ad, and behind it is kind of a distorted audio of Romney singing America the Beautiful. I remember his coming on the television singing America the Beautiful, but this was weird. So they are exploiting that. However, yes, some of the transactions with the outsourcing was between February of 1999 and 2001. However, Romney had another fund which he was sole owner and controller of, after February 1999 and into the next couple years, where he owned $14 million of Flextronics, one of the pioneers of outsourcing electronics to China and Mexico, and $41 million of Jabil Circuits, which was also shutting down jobs in California and other places in our country and transferring the jobs overseas. So what is it about those dates that is so scary to Romney that he doesn't want to be known as the person in charge of Bain? What did they do? What crime did they commit? And I've been really trying to figure that out, and so has a lot of other people. Now, Romney has a IRA, which is a investment retirement account. I can get an IRA. In fact, I got an IRA or two. I only have don't have very much in it. But the most a normal human can invest in an IRA is $2,000 a year. You know, if you have a family and other things, I think you can get an absolute maximum of $4,000 a year in it. Even if it's there for 20 years, the most he could have collected was a little over $100,000. And if he was a genius, it could have grown to $1 million, and some IRAs do. However, he has an IRA with $105 million in it. The only way he could get it is if he took partnership assets, valued them at zero, that were worth millions and millions of dollars, and then deferred all the taxes on all the growth from these partnerships. So, yes, that's possible. But if you did that, you would have to pay something called an unrelated business investment tax, called a UBIT, 30%. 30% of that $105 million, that's $31 million, almost 32, going straight into the coffers of the government, something Romney absolutely does not want to do. He doesn't want us to retire some of our debt out of his pocket because his pocket is sacred. So what does he do? He has what they call a blocker corporation. And it's a very complicated transaction. And basically, you have to have a nonprofit, like an IRA, and then you have to have that IRA borrow money, and then on the borrowed money, you have to make the profits, and then you don't have to pay the $30 million. Oh, I read the actual tax rule. You do have to pay the 30%. That's still UBIT. However, if you are a foreigner, you don't have to pay the 30%. So you have to have a foreign blocker company borrow the money, get the profit, and give you the profit on a tax-free basis. And not to give it to you, but to give it to your nonprofit, your IRA or your trust or your charity or whatever it is. But there's another closed loophole. That blocker corporation cannot be set up by you, cannot be owned by you, cannot have been at one time owned by you, and cannot be created by you, and has to have another economic purpose. Well, for the most part, none of them do have the other economic purpose, but most people go to hedge funds. The hedge fund sets up the blocker and just whispers in their ear, this one is legal. However, when Romney set up the Blocker Corporation, he was CEO, president, and full stockholder of Bain Capital. He owes 30%. Not only does he owe 30% of his $105 million, but there's a double penalty. He owes $60 million. And on top of that, since he hasn't disclosed it since 1999 or whenever they set it up, he's probably a tax evader, and a criminal tax evader at that. So if the Blocker Corporation that is in the fund that he set up was set up while he was president, he may be liable for not just $1 million, but tens of millions of dollars in unpaid, dodged back taxes. Otherwise, why go to such a political risk just to say I was president of a company, but I had nothing to do with it. Who wants a president of the United States who says, when I was president of a company, I had nothing to do with it? I'm not responsible. When is he going to be responsible? My name's Reed Silverne. The name of this show is Fed Pride. Reason it's called Fed Pride, I'm a Fed.